25 साल से रिक्शा चला।
उस वक्त में कमाई अपनी माने 2 रुपया 3 रुपया आया भी हज़ारों रुपया कमाते, लेकिन देखते हैं कि वही चल रहा है।
वो ये रिक्शा जो चल रहा है ना जी, तो हम ही लोग भर चला और अब नहीं कौन चलाएगा।
The hand-pulled rickshaw has been an integral part of Kolkata's cultural heritage for more than a century. But in recent times, these rickshaw pullers have been battling a feeling of impending doom. For more than a decade now, the possibility of abolishment any day has been looming menacingly over their heads. It's a classical catch-22 situation. On one hand, how can any civilized society approve of a barefooted, impoverished man pulling another human being to earn a living? Such a practice is undoubtedly inhuman and demeaning. Very true, but on the other hand, this is the only work he knows and is perhaps capable of. So won't abolishment deprive him of his livelihood and further trample on his already dwindling dignity?
अब तो न हमारा से कोई भारी उठ सकता है, न दूसर कोई काम हो सकता है सिवा रिक्शा चले। अब अगर रिक्शा उठ जाने के तो हम लोग को कोई ये नहीं है, क्या करके खाएंगे, न करके खाएंगे।
Is there a comprehensive solution that can offer him a better life in his remaining years? Despite endless debates on options for rehabilitation and compensation, these crucial questions remain unanswered. Caught in an inconclusive maze of uncertainty, time is rapidly running out for the iconic and now aging rickshaw pullers of Kolkata, as they spend each day waiting, not just for the next passenger, but also for a life of dignity. A wait that seems unending, painful, and tragic. Hand-pulled rickshaws have been plying the streets of Kolkata since the early 20th century. Before that, they were used for East India Company officials in their summer capital, Shimla. This rickshaw was made of iron and was so heavy that 4 men were required to pull it. In the 1890s, a much lighter wooden version of the rickshaw made its way from the Oriental countries to Calcutta, which was then the capital of British India. Aristocratic families and zamindars continued to ride palanquins, but the nimble man-pulled rickshaw soon gained popularity among the middle class. In post-independent India, hand-pulled rickshaws became a crucial means of sustenance for thousands of poor people who poured in from the state's neighboring West Bengal. Even today, the majority of rickshaw pullers are migrants who put in long hours of hard labor so that they can somehow support their families, whether here in Kolkata or back home in states like Bihar and Jharkhand. Even though Kolkata has redefined itself with modern infrastructure and transport systems, it remains the only city in India where one can still see these man-pulled wooden rickshaws. As the call for their abolishment grows louder day by day, there is much anxiety among their ardent fans who have warm memories associated with them.
So during the childhood, that was a kind of outing we had in the rickshaws, going to the school, coming back. And I still remember the ting, 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 ting of the rickshaw. They used to ring that bell and we used to go.
सुबह 5 बजे से लेकर 5 बजे शाम तक हम खाली बच्चे ढोते थे, स्कूल ले जाना ले आना।
During the rainy days, I think the rickshaw was that only that's the only transport we used to have, which used to take us back and forth.
पहले तो बारिश होता था, इतना डाल भर पानी में हेल के बच्चा को लाना पड़ता था टाइम सिरे, चाहे जो हो जाए, लेकिन पानी पत्थर पड़े चाहे जो कुछ करे, बच्चा को घर पहुंचाना, स्कूल लेना।
To take a lot of care for the children, and so I still remember I got a lot of nice memories around rickshaws. Rickshaw pullers were so my dear, and they were so friendly, they were so humble, they were like father figures, you know.
Many families have had long-term relationships with rickshaw pullers who have acted as kind of permanent retainer as the rickshaw puller of the family. So for instance, whenever, if there are regular hours, let's say of children coming back from school or going to school, or of elderly ladies going shopping to the bazaar and so on, the rickshaw puller is the same rickshaw puller who will report every day to do this.
Apart from an emotional attachment, there are very strong practical reasons as well that have helped these rickshaws survive the test of time.
Regarded as extremely convenient, especially in terms of negotiating the very narrow streets and alleys which were often very crowded, and so for motor vehicles there were large parts of the city which were not very easily accessible, and so very often the rickshaws were used particularly for negotiating those sorts of situations.
The monsoon season in Kolkata is known for the disruption it causes across the city. Using any form of motorized transport on the waterlogged roads is asking for trouble. Deadlocked traffic jams add to the woes and make navigation a nightmare. The only hope is the old faithful hand-pulled rickshaw, even for those principally opposed to this mode of travel. Although the rickshaw has been an integral part of Kolkata's heritage through the years, the image of a poor man pulling another, such as this iconic scene from the classic Do Bigha Zameen, evokes mixed emotions.
In Do Bigha Zameen, it is right that there was an attempt to actually portray the life in the city from the point of view of a rickshaw puller. This has also taken the form of empathizing with the rickshaw puller, and yet recognizing the important place that that service plays in the life of middle class people. And so it was a somewhat complex set of emotions that were often portrayed.
These emotions oscillated between two approaches. On the one hand, the man-pulled rickshaw was closely associated with class discrimination, poverty, and exploitation. Concepts that made the urban, progressive mind feel extremely uncomfortable. But on the other hand, it was felt that each person is entitled to maintain a livelihood, no matter how humble, and especially when there was no suitable alternative on offer. Riding on this precarious balance, the rickshaw survived and continued to ply on the city streets. However, in recent years, as the efforts to refurbish and modernize the image of the city gained momentum, so did the discomfort with the continuance of the rickshaw. This was now seen as an archaic and despicable remnant of an impoverished past. Matters escalated in the early 90s when the Hollywood film City of Joy was being shot in Kolkata.
In relation to a film like City of Joy, you see the difficulty was that for many people who lived in the city and who cared for the city, the idea that a foreign filmmaker will use the idea of the rickshaw simply as a mark of condemnation of the city, as a place of poverty and exploitation, and make that the rickshaw, as it were, a sign of the kind of gross exploitation of poor people in the city. I think that is what a lot of, you might say, critics who lived in the city would have objected to.
Keen to shed the stag of a city of slums, poverty and wretchedness, a bill was tabled in the State Legislative Assembly in 2006, calling for a ban on these rickshaws. It was termed an inhuman practice that projected a regressive image of Kolkata. It was also hoped that removing these slow-moving vehicles would ease traffic congestion. However, executing the move has proved easier said than done.
Hand-pull rickshaws are a critical and interesting issue for Calcuttans. At one level, this symbolizes old Calcutta's heritage. Some people would underline that heritage. At another level, it is a non-dignified way of earning one's living, and many people would hate to see hand-pull rickshaws. Therefore, at another third level, there is an effort to rehabilitate the heritage of the rickshaw pullers in a more acceptable and respectable vocation.
However, more than a decade after the ban was mooted, the government and the stakeholders are still struggling to find an inclusive and viable solution.
যে আস্তে আস্তে তাদের রিহ্যাবিলিটেশন অর্থাৎ পুনর্বাসন দেওয়ার মধ্যে দিয়ে কলকাতা পৌরসভা বা সরকার এটাকে সিরিয়াসলি এগিয়ে নিয়ে গেছে।
The efforts have been on, and you require to integrate them, the actual pullers, as well as the actual owners, and there are quite a few guys who are owners but not pullers, and who are pullers but not owners. They should be integrated with the market's economy and the polity's possibilities. The Chief Minister has instructed us to arrange some funds for the rehabilitation. We have been talking to the leaders of the community to segregate the owners from the pullers, to segregate the quote-unquote rich guys from the real needy pullers.
There has also been talk of rehabilitation by granting them cycle rickshaws or battery-operated vehicles. But training the rickshaw pullers at this age to operate a new mode of transport is easier said than done. While the elderly rickshaw pullers are resistant to adapt to drastic changes, other quarters from within the administration itself have their own terms and conditions for rehabilitation. As a result, a suitable solution that pleases everyone continues to remain elusive.
Calcutta police thinks that slow-moving vehicles should not be encouraged in the city, so migration of these rickshaw pullers has to be ensured in a manner which satisfies their requirements also. So we go to another paradigm, rehabilitation to a vocation that is permissible in consonance with the speed needs of the city. We were willing to give them e-rickshaws in some neighborhoods, but many of them are not willing to migrate to a non-metropolitan neighborhood. So unless they also come sort of out of their habitat, it might be difficult to help them in the existing vocation. That is why the problem remains a little tricky.
While the authorities grapple with the intricacies and complexities of rehabilitation and compensation, the brunt of the delay is being borne by the rickshaw pullers. As they wait a tangible solution, they have found themselves being slowly and steadily sidelined. Their entry in various parts of the city has been curtailed, and so have the number of waiting and pickup points. As a result, they can no longer operate on the main routes that once gave them maximum business. The issue of new licenses has been suspended since 2005, and the manufacture of new rickshaws has been discontinued as well.
पहले तो रिन्यू होता था, अभी रिन्यू बंद हो गया। अभी वही जो टूट फाट गया उसको बना के रिपेयरिंग करके फिर चलाता है।
Being a group predominantly comprising of migrants, the rickshaw pullers are apprehensive that in the absence of adequate support and representation in the corridors of power, it would be difficult to secure an adequate compensation package or rehabilitation support. Some fear that local populations may resent the attention and support being accorded to outsiders like them, and that this opposition may well be a significant consideration for the powers that be. The last straw is that younger members of the middle class, their staunchest customer base, are slowly abandoning them.
Increasingly, my sense is that for younger people, for instance, they prefer not to take the rickshaw as such, if they have any other option. And largely because it is seen as a kind of, an old-fashioned mode of transport.
This abandonment by the new generation is a phenomenon that the rickshaw pullers are experiencing firsthand within their own homes from their own children. The next generation appears to be intensely disillusioned by these recent developments, as well as the hostile environment they witness in the daily fight for survival. As a result, they are least interested in continuing this tradition, and deep within, this is not what the parents want for them either.
आप एक बार सोचिए, जो आपका लड़का वो रिक्शा खींच रहा है, उसका पीछे एक आदमी बैठा हुआ है, आपको कैसा लगेगा?
ठीक नहीं है तो,
हाँ?
लेकिन लाचार में तो कोई उपाय नहीं है ना, न कोई रोजगार मिलता है, न कुछ मिलता है। लाचार में कहीं रिक्शा चलाना ही पड़ता है।
Trapped in their profession, the aging pullers are reconciling to the reality that their children are neither inclined nor capable of providing them any form of tangible support, and they will have to fend for themselves at this age. As they find themselves being cornered, isolated, and losing business, they struggle to survive and cling on to whatever little they have. As a result, the deras or garages that once served only as maintenance workshops are now catering to a different kind of demand. Today, they are approached by elderly rickshawalas who want their old vehicles repaired, refurbished, given a complete makeover, and then fitted with old license plates that are still valid. Pulling rickshaws is the only work they know, and if they want to continue to work and earn a living, they have no option but to find ways and means of circumventing the restrictions imposed on them. Most rickshawalas migrated from neighboring states to Kolkata, harboring dreams of prosperity. Life in their village was steeped in deprivation, and families felt they would forever be trapped in the poverty chain, generation after generation. The only way out was to somehow make it to Calcutta, a city filled with livelihood opportunities. It was said that this was a place where currency notes could be found freely floating in the air. Thousands of men took the plunge and came to live all alone in the city, leaving their near and dear ones behind, or else relocated with their entire families in tow. They came hoping to rebuild a respectable, dignified new life for themselves. Decades later, their search for dignity still continues.
हम लोग जो जिस टाइम में आया उस टाइम में यही काम और यही काम मिलता था और चलता था, जगाड़ा जुआड़ी यही खटता था। मजदूरी भी कम था, लेकिन खाना सस्ता कुछ था। अभी पैसा कुछ ज़्यादा रहेगा तो खाना भी महंगा हो गया।
Living arrangements for most rickshawalas are unauthorized and rudimentary. Many live on pavements, while the luckier ones find shelter within the dera or garage, popularly known as khatal. The puller starts his day by inspecting his rickshaw and making sure it is in optimum working condition. This is crucial for conserving energy during hours of back-breaking effort, pulling heavy loads or passengers for kilometers on end. Facilities are minimal, so bathing could very well be an open-air activity out on the pavement. Once these morning chores are over, it's time to set off for work. Most rickshawalas walk barefoot. Come rain, come shine.
গন্তব্যস্থলে যাওয়ার জন্য একটি মানুষ দু চাকার একটি জায়গায় একটা ঘন্টা বাজাতে বাজাতে মানুষটিকে প্রায় 40 ডিগ্রি তাপমাত্রায় 42 ডিগ্রি তাপমাত্রায় ছুটে ছুটে এক প্রান্ত থেকে এক প্রান্তে পৌঁছে দিচ্ছে।
Not only they do ply out with passengers all around, they also carry a huge amount of weight.
Excessive weight bearing and the sudden holding back of their rickshaws to avoid passing cars injures their ligaments and bone joints. Long periods of standing and waiting for clientele leads to painful afflictions like varicose veins and varicocele.
अब कई से बोल जब तक आपका ठेवना में दर्द हो गया दवाई खा खा के चलाते हैं, जब ठेवना ठीक रहा तो एक बाद चला के खाते हैं, दर्द हुआ फिर बढ़ जाते हैं।
These people normally suffer from occupational diseases, mainly low back pain, and during the monsoon season they always suffer from cold, cough, and this is a very common feature for them. They suffer fungal infections because they don't have a good footwear. Normally they would buy out chappals from the local market, which is unhygienic and which is actually allergic.
The menial nature of their labor pushes them to the bottommost rung of the social strata. As a result, they are often treated with condescension, be it by the police, local shopkeepers, or even some of the customers they ferry. Many rickshaw pullers have been plying for more than 5 decades and remain active even in their 70s. Walking and pulling day in and day out, each one has individually trudged tens of thousands of kilometers, enough to circle the entire earth a couple of times. And yet, after all this effort, they find they are still trapped in a miserable and helpless existence, with just a few supporters left to fight their battles.
Small nuances of life, small human values, some human touch, which still remains with us. And when you want to take uproot some these things from the society or our lives, then those things should be done in a very nice way, something that they can be comforted with now. If I think that they have to be put somewhere else, then they have to be given some kind of a comfort zone where they can actually thrive peacefully and have a decent amount of earning so that they can support their family back.
The government has its own set of priorities too. While there is an urgent need to modernize the city's infrastructure and image, it is trying to maintain a humane approach towards the elderly citizens. It is displacing along the way.
সংখ্যাটা অনেকটা কমিয়ে এনে মানবিক দৃষ্টিভঙ্গির দিক দিয়ে আইনের মধ্যে পরিণত করে এটা কলকাতা শহরে আগামী কিছুদিনের মধ্যেই আমরা বিশ্বাস করি যে আস্তে আস্তে এই প্রথাটা যাবে।
So all these market pulls and pushes, possibilities and their willingness have to be combined in a real proper optimal strategy. And to tag them to a vocation through some kind of government help is a challenge, but we are trying to make some sense out of the challenge. Hopefully some result should emerge if a consensus does not elude us for too long a time.
There are plans for rehabilitation of these people. I am not sure how far these are realistic. I am not even sure about the genuine interest of the government in trying to provide some rehabilitation which makes sense for these people who after all no longer have long productive lives left before them. They will basically have to live some sort of retired life. It is unlikely that the government will be able to provide them with any kind of appropriate rehabilitation that will ensure that even in their old age they will be taken care of and looked after in terms of their health and other kinds of resources that they will need.
While many have seen the writing on the wall and decided to return home, others valiantly continue the struggle, knowing that life in the village will have its own challenges.
गांव में कोई खराबी नहीं, गांव मेरा ठीक है, लेकिन गरीब आदमी को कौन देख सकता है उतना। अगर कोई काम के लिए भी गए तो जो पैसा बाबू दिया उसका काम बन जाता है, जो नहीं पैसा दिया उसका आज नहीं होगा कल ना होगा परसों होगा, ऐसे घूरते रह जाता है।
While they are desperate to cling on to the only work they know, they are also well aware that they are living on borrowed time. Deep within is a suspicion that perhaps the delay in finding a solution is just a ploy to tire them out and drive them away one by one. After all, at this rate, there will soon be no one left to rehabilitate. Just pained souls nursing a sense of betrayal that they have been disowned by the people and by the city.